Washington, hours after Jimmy Kimmel unleashed a monologue attacking the latest bill that would undo much of the Affordable Care Act, two of the bill's authors spent Wednesday morning defending the legislation against the late-night host, who in recent months has become an unlikely, and increasingly impassioned, critic. Mr. Kimmel, who has closely watched the Republican effort to strip down health care since his newborn son had open-heart surgery, targeted Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana in particular. In what was only the latest instance of the ever-blurring line between late-night laughs and politics, Mr. Kimmel delivered an earnest monologue on Tuesday evening on Jimmy Kimmel Live, accusing the senator of failing to deliver on several key issues, including lowering premiums, expanding coverage, banning lifetime caps and not discriminating based on pre-existing conditions. "This guy, Bill Cassidy, he just lied right to my face," Mr. Kimmel said. "Guess what? The new bill does none of those things." Hours later, Mr. Cassidy appeared on Fox News to say that Mr. Kimmel did not fully grasp the bill. "I wish he understood completely," Mr. Cassidy said. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, the bill's co-author, went on Fox and Friends to defend the legislation, which would provide individual states with billions in federal funds, and allow discretion over how the money is spent. "I understand the emotional nature of having a sick child," Mr. Graham said. He added, "I bet he looked at some liberal talking point, bought it hook, line and sinker, and went after Bill Cassidy without talking to him." Just months ago, Mr. Kimmel would not have been the most obvious choice to speak out about health care. But in May, he revealed in an emotional monologue that his son, Billy, had been born with a heart defect. Billy nearly died, but, his father noted, he was able to receive top-of-the-line care. "If your baby is going to die and it doesn't have to, it shouldn't matter how much money you make," Mr. Kimmel said at the time. "I think that's something that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or something else, we all agree on that, right? I mean, we do." In recent months, Mr. Cassidy, who was interviewed by Mr. Kimmel in May, has publicly invoked the late-night host's name, and his son's medical history, when it comes to fleshing out the finer points of the new legislation. "Does it pass the Jimmy Kimmel test?" Mr. Cassidy said during an appearance on CNN that month. "Will a child born with a congenital heart disease get everything she or he would need in the first year of life?" On Tuesday evening, Mr. Kimmel urged Mr. Cassidy to take part in the growing bipartisan effort to tackle health care instead of pushing the latest bill. "And if not?" Mr. Kimmel said. "Stop using my name." The so-called Graham-Cassidy bill is likely to face a close vote in Congress, where several Republican senators remain undecided or as likely no votes. It was unclear on Wednesday whether Mr. Kimmel's efforts had inspired more people to call in urging senators to vote against the bill. At the office of Susan Collins, a Republican of Maine, the calls hadn't increased. "Our call volume is the same," her press secretary, Annie Clark, said. "Steady calls."